Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Appreciate you stopping by for another visit. And today we are going to talk about half of the Cattleyas. I was going to talk about them all at one time, but I figured that would be too long of a video. Did not realize I had as many Cattleyas as I do. I think overall I have about 23, 24, and in my mind I had 15 to 12. Anywho, got more than I thought. So, again, it's the beginning of the year, and I want to look at them before spring starts so I can kind of compare the growth once spring kicks in. So, this one here is the LC Segrique Wax Silk Ball that I got from Paula at Hillbilly Orchids, and she is starting to perk back up. She was getting a little loofy on me there, but she does have this new growth coming right along, and I like how it's kind of starting to stick up because it was kind of growing out, but now it's going up into the direction of the light. Her roots are still extending out. I did lose a root tip here, but that's to be expected. It was stuck on the wall. I wasn't paying attention and I popped it off. But if you see this brown on this root right here, that's too much seaweed. So I have caught back on that. I don't see any roots in the holes yet, but she is still kind of new in this pot. She's only been in here since July, and I'm pretty pleased with her progress. And I believe, I thought, well, no, she doesn't have another eye, but this is what she kind of looks like now. Let's move that one there. And then this is the white Cattleya that I bought back in 2020, and she has been in this pot since June of 2021. She was a fairly decent size, but she's a big white Cattleya, nicely scented. I did have to cut off this growth here. This is kind of hardening off. That leaf got absorbed. It's one of the older growths she came with, as well as this one here is one of the older growths. And even though this looks like it might be rotting, it's actually hard. She's just drying out. I'll be cutting that off here shortly, let her finish absorbing this piece, because she is working on a new growth here, as well as this new growth right down here. And she is part of the additional calcium experiment to see if she does better this year. And let's do Miss Elaine Taylor here. So Miss Elaine Taylor came with this growth right here. She was finishing it off, and she now has, let me move the tag out of the way real quick, but she does now have that new growth right there that she's starting on. This side here looks like she might be swelling another eye there, so that'd be two directions of growth. She is starting to kick out some new roots off of the previous growth, and one of the things, like I said, I learned in 2021 is to leave them in their nursery pots for as long as possible while they acclimate. And then this is decent quality bark. It's still very firm, so she will stay in here until she outgrows her pot, which, if she continues growing the way she has been, looks like I'll have to be repotting her next year. I'm just going to set her off to the side. Then my BLC Fort Watson Mendenhall that is in charcoal. I've had her since 2020. She is a seedling. She's not doing much, but the one thing she is doing is this growth right here is not showing signs of the rust that previous growths have shown. So that to me is a bonus. She does have a dry sheath here, but I again learned my lesson last year. I'm leaving that sheath on there. Normally I would have already torn that off by now. And she does have some roots going down in there. They don't look good though. But I'm wondering if that's just residual from the charcoal, because I didn't wash these chunks before I put her in there. Let's just do a quick chat about the key lime stars here. She's a lime sherbet crossed with Brassavola nodosa. Beautiful, beautiful green flowering. Oh, just beautiful. And she has a nice scent at night. But she has already absorbed one of the leaves from one of these older growths, and she is absorbing this one here. But she does have this growth right here that she's working on, and again, the sheath is still on there. And I don't see any other new growths other than, let's see if I can move some of the bark out of the way so I can kind of show you, but she does have some root growth going down here as well as along the other sides. I can't wait to see her blooms again. And I thought, you know how some orchids only bloom off of like a bifoliate or a unifoliate? One of her blooms that I got her in was on a bifoliate, the other one was on a unifoliate. So apparently she will bloom no matter what. Yay. Let's talk about Miss Jane Austen here. So Jane Austen I've only had since, I think, September of 2021. And she was bought because my favorite author is Jane Austen. My favorite book is Pride and Prejudice. But look at all the roots that she's producing. Like, she's just got roots and roots and roots going down in there. So that's great. As well as the roots that she went in with, even though they look tired, they're actually still very viable. They green up once you put some water on them. She hasn't started a new growth quite yet. So I'm waiting for that. And then the sheath that she came with ended up drying out. But as I stated when I was repotting her, I was okay with that because I did want her to get into this pot. And she was growing those roots, so I took advantage of that with her being a bifoliate. Because those of us who grow Cattleyas have learned that bifoliates are a little finicky with the repot. They don't like to be disturbed. And then we have the RLC Chia Lin Golden Super crossed with RLC Hilo Grand that I have had again since 2020. Got her in April of 2020. And let me move you out of the way before I knock you over. So when I got her, she came with these three growths right here. This growth was finishing off. Then she produced this growth here. And then she produced this growth that you can't see for all the wrapping, but the leaf grew really wanky and out, and I ended up still trying to be careful, but a few months ago I did end up breaking the leaf, so I just cut it off. But she does have a swelling in the eye right there, this new growth here, and that is all I see at the moment. Oh, she did grow this little small growth right after I repotted her. And again, she's been through quite the ordeal with me and my learning curve. I've had her almost 2 years now. She's never bloomed for me. So she is under nice bright light, so I'm not sure how to get her to bloom. She's going to be one I will put outside this year just to see. And if you hear all the noise in the back, that's Mr. Loki, my supervisor, trying to figure out where he's going to sit in order to supervise me the best. But again, look at all the nice roots here. And kind of touching on the does clay kill roots, this root tip right here is growing right on the clay pot. It is attached to it, and it's been that way since it started sneaking over the pot. I don't spray them or anything like that to keep it moist. Again, it's part of the experiment I am keeping an eye on. I'm going to go ahead and put her where she belongs, simply because if I don't, I feel like I'm going to knock something over. All right, and then we have the Patenera Dick Smith crossed with Horus Maxima. I also got in April of 2020 in the same order as the Golden Super. So she has only produced this growth right here, which wasn't very good. As you can see, these are kind of wanky looking because she did desiccate for a little bit. And then she does have some nice new roots. Once I put her in this setup here, she really took off. So she did this growth here, and I was expecting another growth from here. However, let me get that back on there. However, she ended up shooting one from back here, and now she's working on this one here. And this one here has a lot of anthocyanin on it. And again, never bloomed for me. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. She is also one in the calcium experiment, as well as I'm going to put her outside this year. Then we have the Patenera Dick Smith Paradise, one of the parents of the previous one. And she just is exploding with growth. Now, I did purchase her in bloom, so I know she is definitely blooming size. She has this growth here that she's finishing. She's got this growth here that's almost matured. And then she's got, I don't even know if you can see it in there, but there's another little one, maybe on this side. Yeah, maybe we can see it better this way. This one here, right in the middle there. And then there was another little baby that you can barely see already popping up as well. So she's really vigorous in the growth. So I'm hoping that one of possibly this growth right here or the one in the middle will bloom, because by then she'll have had time to acclimate. I got her in June of 2021, and she's been in this pot since almost the end of July, we'll say August. I got her as well from Fantasy Orchids here in Colorado. And then this is the other big white Cattleya that I got from Fantasy Orchids as well, that she is in a charcoal setup. And when I did put her in here, she did have some tired roots. She was looking rather poor, but she is starting to recover. I did show her a little bit in a previous video, but there's a growth, there's a growth, and there's another growth. So we have 3 directions of growth so far, and we have, let's see if I dare move any of these, because I kind of have it in here where she's stable, but we do have roots going down into the media as well. So what I've been doing, initially I was watering her every other day, kind of flushing her out, that kind of thing. Now what I do is I take this entire pot and I set it in the water and I let her soak for about 30 to 40 minutes with either MSU fertilizer at 180 parts per million, since the roots are now in there, or at 100 parts per million of CalMag. As the roots start developing and more roots are in there, I will increase the fertilizer, but for right now, because there are so few roots in there, I don't want to do any buildup and overwhelm the few roots that she does have. We have the Horus Maxima, which is another parent of the, sorry about that, the Dick Smith Paradise Horus Maxima mix, obviously if it's the Horus Maxima. Again, still in its original nursery pot. I did get this one from Brookside Orchids simply because it was a Maxima and I wanted the parents of at least one of my orchids, and I was fortunate enough to do that. So when she came with all the growths that you see here, and this growth was just finishing off, and this leaf is almost as big as previous growths, but not quite. And then I was waiting for new growth to come out from here, the base, which is where one would expect. However, I happened to notice these two just kind of poke up through the media. I was like, well, that is kind of cool. So now I am waiting for root growth on these two so that I can get her into a fresh pot, because obviously she's not going to have room for any more growth here without growing out of the pot. She does have nice roots in there, and the bark that's in here is still good. So it's not that it needs to be repotted because the bark is bad. But as you can see, she does have some roots that she was trying to grow out in here that are just not making it. But there's a lot of styrofoam or that styrofoam stuff in the bottom here, and I'm expecting it's probably up to here. So I do want to get her into probably a clay pot. I'll probably keep my clay pot theme going, but I might also put her in a plastic pot. Have not really decided on that. And I believe that's all of the ones that that I had out for today. So in a separate video, I'll pull out the smaller ones and we'll chat about them real quick. But let me know if you have any suggestions on how to get the ones that I've had for a few years to bloom. They were purchased as blooming size, and I do realize that blooming size means, I'm not blooming size, but near blooming size means that they can bloom, you know, within a year, or they can bloom within 5 years. But I feel like they're all mature enough and they've all been in their pots long enough that I should get some blooms, or at least a fake bloom, right? Like the she's in my, what did I do with her? Oh, the she's in my Jane Austen here. And for those of you who do grow in charcoal, let me know if my process of starting off with a lower amount of fertilizer is a good idea, seeing as there's not a lot of roots in there and not overwhelming the plant. That's my thought process anyway. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And again, I appreciate you stopping by. Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment, and I will see you on the next one.